All right, the second half of this patron request, the double feature starting with The Devil's Backbone, which I already covered here, and I forgot to show you that I do own it because I got to pretend that I'm so cool by owning things. As well as The Orphanage, which was produced by Guillermo del Toro. And man, this guy definitely seems to have a specific taste for stories. This definitely reminds me a decent amount of The Devil's Backbone, but definitely much different. But there are similarities, of course. The most notable here being ghosts of dead orphans and an orphanage. This one takes place more modern times, but it does deal with an orphanage of the past and the kids that were there. So he definitely loves spooky ghost tales about orphanages that end up being really sad and tragic more than scary. This film was so sad. And here's the thing, and this is what I kind of hate about marketing for horror movies, is that when it comes to horror, the only thing that marketing people seem to understand about the genre is that it's supposed to be scary, right? And that's the only selling point they seem to comprehend. And so a movie that has horror in it, if it's trying to be marketed as horror, they always got to lean into the scary aspects of it in the trailers or whatever. And I remember seeing the trailer and some of the remarks from the marketing team back when this was coming out, and it was like, the scariest movie in the last 10 years or things like that. That's absurd. This is such a sad and somber film. There is definitely moments that have a creep factor to them. The Tomas stuff with his mask, it's a very iconic visual and whatnot. But 95% of this film is drama and super, super sad. Yes, there is some horror to the movie, but yeah, no. I just feel like it's so limiting. It feels like people don't understand this genre at all. Maybe the marketing people are wiser than I think, right? They market it in a way where it sells tickets and they don't really care, and they know, just like I do, that horror is so much more than scares and jumps and whatnot, right? But the general audience seems to not understand that at all. And when they go into a movie like this, of course, they're going to walk out of it disappointed, being like, that wasn't scary at all. And I fell for that hype back in the day, because I don't fall for that kind of stuff at all anymore. I'm a much more refined and educated viewer these days than I once was. But I remember seeing trailers for this and marketing for this and thinking I was going in to see some super scary type of movie that was a bunch of scare scenes and chilling atmosphere and all that stuff. And I remember kind of coming out of this being like, it was fine. It was pretty slow, and I honestly didn't think that it had much scariness going on, so blah blah blah. Anyway, I bring that up here because I very vividly remember seeing the trailers to this and then going and seeing it and being like, man, that did not live up to the hype in the slightest, and that really can dampen people's experiences with movies like this. I feel like horror and comedy are the two genres that really are kind of crippled by their marketing. Like, the films can't just be what they are. They have to live up to some kind of expectation that the genre has attached to it. Comedy, I'm there for laughs. Horror, I'm there for scares. If I don't laugh the whole movie, or if I don't feel afraid the whole movie, then the movie is a failure. That's that's just kind of the very general overview people seem to have of these genres, and that's tragic because horror is so much more than just cheap jump scares. Anyway, so this is directed by J.A. Bayona, I think is how you say it. He went on to do Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. He's one of the show, like, I think he just directed maybe the first 2 episodes of that Lord of the Rings show on Amazon, which I'm like the biggest freaking Lord of the Rings film fan on Earth, and I barely could make it through the first season, and I'm usually the guy that can get through those kinds of things and love it. I'm usually the guy that's like, what are you guys talking about? This show rules. I haven't even watched season 2. It's crazy to think that there's some hundreds of millions of dollar budgeted Lord of the Rings television series that has a full season out and has been out for many months, and I've had zero interest in watching it. I mean, zero. I feel like I'm gonna watch it though. I feel like eventually I'm gonna watch it. I kind of feel like I have to. Anyways, let's talk about the movie. This is way too much time yapping about this shit. So, all right. The Orphanage. So we get the opening here where we are in the past with the orphanage, and our main character here, she gets adopted, Laura. And Laura, right? Yeah, Laura. Yes. Laura is the kid who kind of gets to get away from it all. She gets adopted, and I'm going to tell this story kind of out of order because obviously the story is meant to be divulged to us in revelations and twist reveals, and I'm going to talk about this more straightforward. So we of course find out later in the movie, which is just so fucked up, that Tomas, who was this very deformed kid, so the orphanage is filled with a bunch of deformed and sick children, and Tomas is this kid who has facial deformities, and so he wears a mask, like a bag head, like a sack head, like Jason in Friday 2. And after Laura gets adopted and leaves, the kids, thinking they're funny, playing a prank, grab Tomas's mask from him, won't give it back. He feels insanely embarrassed about his looks, so he goes and he hides himself in a cave where the ocean comes in at night, refuses to come out, and because of that, the tide rolls in and drowns him, kills him. We find out later in the movie that the social worker who came to ask about Simone, Laura's adopted child, is actually the mother of Tomas. And we find out that Laura finds the bodies of all of the orphans stuck in these bags in like a furnace or whatever that thing is, and that Tomas's mom, very Pamela Voorhees, poisoned all of the children for pranking her child and getting him killed out of a moment of vengeance, and burns all their bodies and hides their ashes and whatnot. And Laura stumbles upon this, finding out that woman murdered all of the kids that she used to go to school with, because Laura went there, and she finds out she's the last one to get out of there. Every other kid she went there with either drowned or was murdered. This movie is fucking dark, dude. Like, not only does Simone sounds like a female version, but I think it's Simone. He finds out, unbeknownst to him, after playing this treasure map game that Tomas's ghost sets up for him, leads him to the papers. Although he seems to already know the information, so even though it leads him to the files, and he's like in a good mood with his mom and playing that game, he like instantly reacts once they find those papers. He doesn't look at them. I don't even think he can read. He's only 7. And he couldn't read that well, if he can read at all. So he seems to already know that information, or is it possible that Tomas gave him that information right then and there very quickly? It seems like a lot of information to gain very quickly and then to get really mad and get, run off from your mom. But he finds out like right then and there that not only is he adopted, but that he also has HIV. And this movie's 2007. I don't know if the retrovirals were available like they are now, because the life expectancy of someone with HIV today, especially like the faster they find out about the diagnosis, the average lifespan expectancy of someone with HIV today, if treated early enough, is the same as anybody. They really, really have done an incredible job with being able to manage HIV to a level now where it's not a death sentence anymore like it once was, which is wonderful. I don't know what the drugs were like when this movie came out. This is almost 20 years ago. So they tell him in this movie, like, no, you'll be all right. Like, we're going to give you these pills and you're going to be fine and this and that. I don't know if they're lying to him, or if they, obviously you're never going to know. You're never going to know until you're taking these drugs and they're checking your levels and whatnot. But regardless, I do wonder if with the drugs they have, if they're just kind of selling him a fairy tale, much like the Peter Pan story that she tells him in this movie. But we're never going to know because, Simone dies. And, oh man, his death is so tragic. It is such a foreign film kind of thing. American films rarely do something like this. And that's not to say that it never does. Because one of the most fucked up children deaths I've ever watched in my entire life, one of the most haunting child deaths in any film, is in The Mist. when that car stops and he finally decides and the kid's asleep, and oh my god, that scene is insane. That scene is insane. And of course there's plenty of other child deaths in American cinema, like Pet Sematary, Gage getting hit by the truck, and there's plenty of examples of really fucked up child deaths. But this one's just so sad. Like, they're all sad, but her finding him, it's the way it plays out. The fact that she's been looking for him for like 9 months. The fact that she thinks that she's going to come across him alive and that the ghosts have him somewhere. He hasn't been taking his medication. I don't know how he would be eating or being taken care of. But, she has hope, of course. She's going to do it. And the father in this is just waste. He's just useless. He is one of those typical fathers in movies that just doesn't listen until it's too late. This movie absolutely was an inspiration. Or what year? This is 2007? Yeah, this is before the Conjuring and Insidious movies. Yeah, this should be like a couple years before. But I have to imagine that this is an inspiration for both of those films. James Wan definitely was inspired by these films. Unless I'm mistaken on the timeline and one of those came out before this. But I don't think so. I think The Conjuring was early 2010s and Insidious was around the same time. Wasn't far off of that. So I think this is 2007 and I think this is before. But then again, I mean, the scene where the medium comes over and she's looking through the house and she's reporting through the guy, which is very like, the Elaine inspects scene when she's telling him all this stuff and he's writing it down and interpreting it and all of that stuff. I think that, of course, is reminiscent of the scene in Poltergeist when they hire the people to come over with their electronic equipment and they're looking at stuff. So this could have been inspired by Poltergeist, and then I'm sure there's a movie before that that inspired Poltergeist. There's plenty of movies that always inspire other movies. Yeah, it doesn't mean they're rip-offs. There's just, artists get inspiration from other artists. But all that being said, her like looking for her kid for months and months and months, no one really believing her. Everybody thinking that she's a total kook, that she is seeing ghosts and that she's lost it, and she was going to open up an orphanage, which is really sad. Like, all of these disabled kids were there. This is supposed to be their day when they come in to stay at this orphanage, and boom, after her kid goes missing, of course, she loses it, can't do it. And I don't even think people would want their kids there, or, well, I guess they're probably orphans, so, the state wouldn't want the kids there because she is probably seen as mentally unstable. But the fact that she's like an orphan who gets adopted, and then she goes back to the orphanage that she was a kid at to reopen it for kids like her. I don't know. Did it say? I'm sure it did, and I'd have to go back and rewatch the scene. What was Laura's disability? Did she get cured of it, or was she just like a healthy orphan, and she just so happened to be in a place with sick and deformed kids? Or did I miss something? I think I missed something there. Subtitles, taking notes, you just miss these little things here and there. But anyway, so please enlighten me on what Laura's condition was. Anyway, so she, we find out towards the end of the film, after she plays that really cool knocking on the wall, which reminds me of the clap scene from The Conjuring, and that's where I'm saying the inspiration came from for that. But she's playing, which is the opening of the movie, right? I think she's the one knocking on the tree in the opening as well, so it's a good mirroring scene. But the un, dos, tres thing, that's a cool scene. And then she's like looking back, and every time she does, there's like kids in the room, and they're closer and closer to her. Really, really cool. But yeah, they end up leading her to this secret room that she has to clear her way for. And at the bottom of the stairs, she finds Simone, and Simone is alive, right? But she obviously is a ghost, and then she realizes that she, after Simone like gets angry at her and comes at her at the party, and she smacks him, he runs away. Now, is Tomas the one who locks her in the bathroom, or is it Simone? I have to imagine it's Simone, right? Like, because they find him in Tomas's mask. So it only makes sense to me that he locked her in the bathroom. He was mad. He slammed the door on her, and then she came looking for him. He went to go down and hide. I can't imagine that's Tomas. He found his outfit. He put it on, and that's him. She thinks it's a ghost, but it's actually her kid, right? I didn't see any proof in the movie. Maybe I missed it that it was for sure him. But that's the only thing I can imagine is the truth. But yeah, he goes down there. The closet door's open. She, runs down, and she throws everything back in. There's these like scaffolding pipes and whatever that she throws up against the wall, not realizing that it is a secret door to this secret room in the basement. And then later that night, she thinks she's hearing like ghost noises, and she hears this big crash, and everyone's like, it's in your head, whatever. Like, you're just stressed out, and your kid's missing. And it ends up being her kid had fallen over the railing and broken her neck. She actually heard her son dying in the house. He was in the house the whole time. To be looking for your kid for almost a year. Everyone thinks you're nuts. You won't give up. You're convinced he's still alive. And he's been dead right beneath your feet the whole time. That's so ironic. That's so tragic. Like, it is so heartbreaking when she finds that out. I haven't looked at my freaking notes one time yet. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't even need them. I feel like this one really stuck with me. Like, all of it. You know, finding out about the tragic past. Oh man, when she sees Tomas's mom, like, walking across the street, and she's like, that's her! Her name starts with a B. I can't remember what it was. But she, like, looks at her, and she, like, you know, looks back, and she's, like, got a stroller or whatever. And a freaking ambulance hits her. And then she, like, runs out and looks, and in the stroller she finds, like, a doll that looks like Tomas when he was a kid. She can't let this go. She can't let this go. Her kid's been dead for 30 years. I think it's been 30 years. And she's, like, carrying around a doll of him. It's so sad. And her face, when they look over, her husband, friggin' Laura's husband, tries to give her CPR, mouth to mouth. And when they cut over to her face, she has no mouth. He gave her mouth to freaking esophagus. Like, there was nothing there to even breathe into. Like, when someone looks like that, Doc, it's probably best. They're gonna wake up. What are you gonna? You're gonna bring them back, and they're gonna be in super like high amounts of pain, agony, until they just eventually die. Like, her whole jaw was completely torn off, and then she does come back for a second, and, like, grabs her arm or whatever. That, oh my god, her face is fucked up. It is, unfortunately, some CG or completely CG or whatever. It does still look good for 2007, but that's gnarly. That is a completely destroyed face. And yeah, I mean, there's a good line the medium says to her, and it actually kind of stuck with me, and I actually thought it was a really cool line, because it is kind of that chicken and the egg kind of conundrum, but flipped kind of thing, where she talks about how a lot of people need to see to believe, and that in reality it's the opposite. You need to be able to believe to see. So she has to take it for the movie, while she is somewhat convinced, she needs others around her to see it to believe it. And because of their doubt, it creates doubt in her, and she's not able to fully believe and end up seeing. So it is the belief that has to come before the evidence. But of course, with most of us, and maybe this is why, if there is something else, the supernatural going on, getting belief before you see is uncommon, right? Most of us are pretty logical and grounded, and we need to see things to become believers. But if the reality of it is that you have to believe first, that's a much tougher sell. So I really like that. I like that scene. I like that explanation of why no one else was seeing, is because none of them believed. And because she'd been there before and she'd experienced some things, and she kind of, like, was open to anything, and her kid is kind of what made her believe, right? And I think the reason they say in here, the reason that he can see, or is that in the Devil's Back? No, that's in this. Yeah, where like he can see because he's close to death, because he's ill. He has like an ability to have, like, an unnatural like sight. So that was cool. And yeah, I liked that explanation. I thought that was really cool. So, and that would mean that I would never see anything, because I do need to see to believe. So I'd be kind of shit out of luck in this scenario. If this is the way it is, I'm kind of screwed. She ends up playing the treasure hunt that her kid taught her, which is what leads her to the bags, the cremation. Now, when Simone plays, he's like, I get a wish if I can find the treasure. And we find out in the end of the movie that his wish is that his mom will stay at the house with the orphans, the ghost of the orphans, his imaginary friends. Did you guys have imaginary friends growing up? I wrote this down. I forgot about this. I never did. Not to my memory. Either that or Kaylee really isn't here. And I'm just married to nobody and no one's told me. Wouldn't that be fucked up? Like everyone's like watching my videos and there's no one sitting next to me. That would be wild. Whoa, that would be a head trip. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. But she's supposedly standing right there right now. Can you guys hear her? Do I have a dog? Grogs, are you real? Greg's like, I don't know, am I? Oh my god, Dad, you got me spinning.
Am I real, guys?
Am I real? No, Kaylee's real. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, imaginary friends. Did you have an imaginary friend when you were a kid? Am I your imaginary friend? Am I really here? Are any of us really here?
I kind of had imaginary friends. Kind of. They were fairies. So. Well, they were like little.
Now I'm kind of wishing you were imaginary, so I could wish you away.
They lived in the banyan trees that I grew up around.
The banyan trees?
Yeah.
All right, I'm almost done with this. We'll talk about it in a minute. So yeah, I mean, she ends up killing herself in the end, taking some sleeping pills. The kid makes his wish that she can be with them, and she decides to stay. She's gonna, and she kind of returns to the orphanage. She's the one that got away. She went off and got to live a life, and they make this comparison to her and Wendy from Peter Pan, which I thought was really cool. She grows up. They need to get a copy of Hook. They're a stat. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. This is just a beautiful film. Just a really beautiful movie that's so sad, devastating, but somehow very sweet. It's like bittersweet in the end. I think that's the best way to describe the ending of this movie. It's very bittersweet. There's it's almost like a happy ending, but it isn't, right? She ends up dying. Her husband, I don't know, her husband kind of sucks, to be honest. But he comes back after her death and he finds the necklace, which he told to return to him once she found the kid. So in his eyes, even though he wasn't a believer, he kind of takes that as I guess she found him. Does he really believe that, though? I don't know. I think he might just buy that for the moment to give himself a smile. But in reality, this guy who wouldn't believe in anything the whole time, all of a sudden is going to find a necklace around the house and be like, oh, I'm a believer now. I don't buy it. It's a cute ending that I feel like that's what they're going for. But of course, I'm going to look at this logically and be like, I think he just thinks she took the necklace off in a fit of frustration and threw it on the ground and was like, I'm never going to find him and I'm killing myself. I mean, that's probably what I would think. So while it is kind of a beautiful little closing moment of the movie, I'm thinking about it differently. But maybe he did. Maybe he saw it and was like, she found him. They're together. But yeah, her sitting there and reading, or I guess she's not reading, but she's reciting a story to them as they all kind of sit around her, and Tomas joins them. That's also a very sweet moment. It's he's distanced himself from all these kids that got him killed, but because Laura comes back, he feels comfortable enough with his new friend Simone being there as well, that he can come and be part of the family. He's forgiven them. Unfortunately, his mom, who does get killed, and Laura thought she was the kidnapper, doesn't get to be there. But she murdered all those kids, so I don't think she should get a happy ending. You murder a whole bunch of kids for playing a prank. They're children. They're bored. They grabbed his mask. Kids do crazy things. This isn't that big of a deal, right? These kids they're kids. They're very, very small. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They go over and tease him a little bit, grab his mask. That ends up getting him killed because he won't come out of a cave. That's not they don't deserve to get killed for that. That's insane. So her being able to poison a bunch of sick orphans, yeah, she doesn't get the happy ending. But Laura, on the other hand, she's the one who who left them, came back, tried to honor their memory by opening up a new orphanage, paying it forward for being adopted and trying to help other kids like her. She deserves her happy ending. She adopts a kid with freaking HIV. She's a great person. She 100% deserves the ending she gets in this. And Tomas's mom, she gets to lay bloody and broken in the street. Because that's what you deserve when you murder sick orphans. But yeah, really beautiful movie. Really, really fucking sad. But very, very good. Really, really fucking good. And I'm glad they didn't remake this. These are the types of movies, you know, with foreign films. Even though there's plenty of remakes I do enjoy, of like American remakes of foreign films. I really do wish that people would just watch foreign movies. You know, I wish we didn't need to have some remake. But other countries make remakes in their language as well, from other countries. We're not the only ones that do it. America gets the butt end of that, but I see plenty. India especially. India loves to remake American horror films. That's what you always say. Every freaking American, like popular American horror film has some hilarious Indian knockoff of it. If you haven't seen any of them, do yourself a favor. They're really, really fucking funny and poor. You think our remakes are bad? At least theirs are entertaining. At least theirs are funny. But yeah, now with that new technology that they're using on that movie Watch the Skies, if you haven't seen the trailer for that, there's like a trailer where they show the technology where they're using like CGI to map the face of the actor and keep their performance, but just move their lips in a different way to sync it up with the dubbing actor's voice. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. I know there's a bunch of people who would immediately be like, absolutely not, that sounds like an abomination, and I completely understand. But I was pretty blown away when they showed the side-by-side comparison and how the same it looked, but just that the mouth moved in line. This reminds me of when they redid Ghost of Tsushima, the video game, and people were bitching about the Japanese version not having a Japanese version or whatever, and they not only put a Japanese version, but they also redid all of the mouth movements so that the mouths would line up with the Japanese, which was very cool. So anyway, that's it. The Orphanage. Very, very cool movie. And I'm glad that you made me rewatch both of these, because these are both movies that I watched many years ago. I didn't have a super favorable opinion of them. I didn't dislike them. I liked them. They were fine to me. But I'm very, very happy to have gone back and rewatched these, and I have a much, much more, a deeper appreciation for both of these movies. So thank you, and I'll see you in the comments. All right.